One of the interesting things that happened that really led to the use of the Gatling gun, as well as the use of the Thompson machine gun, was actually something interesting that happened. Um, Somewhere around, I don't know, some point in time in space or history, after large populations had been possible, what happened was I came up against roaming mobs. There would be 150,000 or basically 75,000 or 15,000 or 150,000 or even 1,000 people that would be roaming around, and their leader would be like, "Hey, let's go get some alcohol," or "Hey, let's go get some new cars." And they would basically just walk into a city, overwhelm the owners of a shop or even a warehouse, and basically take whatever they wanted. And then they would walk off into the jungle. Doctors would go without medicine. People would starve because sometimes they would just eat, like, take a bite of an apple. There was a whole warehouse full of half-bitten apples. They didn't care. There's a warehouse that's got food. Let's go get it. And so you would have like 150, 75, or 5,000 people that would just walk in and eat they would open up cans and then eat half the food and then just leave the can. The alcohol didn't matter if someone only drank half a bottle because, it's still good, basically because it's alcohol. There's no germs that's going to be in there. Anyway, but somewhere in time and space, there are these roaming mobs of 5,000 people. They would overwhelm police officers. They would overwhelm cities. Basically, like half a city would break off and go raid another city for the alcohol or the food. They would just get up and start walking that way. They would get there. They would rip the doors open. They'd get in there and grab the food and go. The town would starve. And it's not like they needed the food. I wondered sometimes, did they need the food? Like, what was going on here? Anyway, they would overwhelm government officials. They would break into safes. Like 5,000 people one time besieged a bank. There was no way to stop them. 2 or 3 of them had weapons. They ripped the what's called the wall apart or whatever. Just 5,000 people, They said, "Hey, why work? Rip." There was no way to have a financial system. There was no way to have any kind of government system. There were just these roaming mobs of thousands of people. They would come into a town, they would take alcohol or whatever they wanted, a car or two, and they would wander away. Into the woods or into somewhere. Then they would split apart. There was no way to have civilization. There was no way to have any kind of government or anything. They just did whatever they wanted or whatever their leader wanted, which was whatever they felt like. So I found myself with a difficult thing. Like I said, they would overwhelm train stations. They'd be like, "Hey, let's go to the next town. Or let's go as far as the train will take us." Grab the engineer until the train ran out of coal. So the Tommy gun and the Gatling. Like I say, somewhere around some point in time and space, these people would get together within a city and decide to go do something. Sometimes they would just go wreck a city. Like, "Hey, let's go wreck the next city over. Or let's go party in the next city." They would destroy the city. They would, like 20 or 30 girls would get raped. It was bad. There was no way to do any kind of civilized society. I had to order people to shoot. I had to order the use of the Tommy gun. How are you going to stop 5,000 people? Well, there are ways. Or 150,000 people. How do you stop the equivalent of LA from going to the little next small town over and basically leveling it with their bare hands? It happened. All because of Sally, the girl, or something like that, who didn't like a boy. Anyway, there were these roaming mobs. And there were thousands of people that they would be like, hey, let's go get some alcohol. So they would go and rout and basically overwhelm a warehouse. Take it all. Anyway, police couldn't stop them. It was like, we knew who they were. They're our neighbors. They're the people up the next town over. We all knew who they were. We had the alcohol, so they took it. Then doctors don't have medicine or whatever. Anyway, or they felt like they wanted to have soda. So about 5,000 people got together and went and raided a warehouse. So there was no way to, and they didn't need it. They said if they had needed it, we would have given it to them. But they didn't need it. They could, so they did. So I needed a way to stop that. I was hoping the fact that if they did do that, the lawmen would just go, you're not going to get into this warehouse. That's it. And that might have actually stopped more, civilization was being ripped apart with people's bare hands. As soon as we had groups of 10,000 people or 150,000 people that could just walk to the next town or whatever, they would walk on their bare feet. Get to the next town, kill the cows, have steak. Sometimes they would just kill the cows for fun. Sometimes with their bare hands, sometimes with swords. Sometimes they did it, I don't know. Like I say, there were these roaming mobs of 75,000 to 150,000 people. And they were basically ripping apart civilization. There is no way that I could have a civilization. There is no way I could have any kind of anything. Humanity would basically be a bunch of pack animals running around destroying things with their bare hands. Like I said, they didn't use tractors, they said. They just used their bare hands. Ripped apart the whole city. It was made of wood, so they ripped it apart. And they burned it. Maybe they were cold, one person said. I was like, wow. They said they overwhelmed the swordsmen. Took them down. Killed them afterwards. Or burned them or whatever they wanted to do. Actually, there was this thing they used to rape men. Men used to rape men. I was like, ew, that's disgusting. It was supposedly some sort of sin or something like that, or just demeaning when another man stuck his, into another man's, or something like that. It's something they commonly did. They would bend them over and then they would, I don't know, or they would shove other things up in there. It was pretty disgusting, really, when I found out. I was like, yeah, it's time for the Tommy gun. Anyway, so yeah, the barbarianism of the past, or what certain people, they'd be like, they were called whatever, religious, whatever, and then they were just sodomized or whatever. Sometimes they would ram things in there with a hammer until it came out the other side. I was like, wow. My humans are doing what? Like, oh yeah. Whole line of them. They had metal. It was long. It was pointy. They had a hammer. They just bend them over, tie them up, and until it came out the mouth. Like art. I was like, they said these men hadn't done anything wrong. They were the whatever. Sometimes they had merely said, don't do that. We need that. They killed doctors. They killed everyone. So, reasons for the Tommy gun and why I issued the use of it. There was some really, really bad shit happening. And I needed to stop it. My humans were acting like animals. So sorry about that.